Over a 16-year span across 9 different medical facilities in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, as many as 400 patients were murdered. There were no bloody crime scenes, no signs of struggle, and no immediate suspects. The perpetrator was Charles Cullen, a registered nurse working the night shift. He blended perfectly into the clinical background. Instead of a gun or a knife, his weapons were standard hospital supplies. He used lethal, unprescribed doses of medications like digoxin, a heart drug, and insulin. Cullen would later claim he acted out of mercy, aiming to end the suffering of the terminally ill. But his victims included people who were actively recovering and nowhere near death, like 21-year-old Michael Strenko. By using common medications in a clinical setting, Cullen ensured his actions were indistinguishable from the daily operations of the hospital. The environment meant to heal became his most effective shield. Cullen's professional track record was littered with warnings. He was caught stealing drugs, investigated for misconduct, and repeatedly forced out of jobs for poor performance. Despite these glaring behavioral flags, he consistently found new employment. Medical facilities across 2 states hired him again and again, giving him direct access to vulnerable patients. This schematic demonstrates how he bypassed automated medication dispensing cabinets, known as Pyxis machines. By navigating the system's menus to cancel requests or order items for discharged patients, he obtained lethal drugs without triggering inventory alerts. He would then take these drugs and secretly inject them into IV fluid bags stored in supply closets, leaving lethal traps waiting for unsuspecting patients to receive them hours later. Society places implicit trust in healthcare workers. Cullen weaponized that trust, turning routine medical delivery systems into untraceable tools for murder. Previous hospitals had the opportunity to stop Cullen, but they were paralyzed by the threat of multi-million-dollar malpractice lawsuits and severe public relations damage. Rather than firing him for cause and risking litigation, administrators allowed him to quietly resign. When future employers called, they provided neutral references, merely confirming his dates of employment. The federal government maintains the National Practitioner Data Bank to track dangerous medical personnel. Administrators actively bypassed the system, choosing not to report his dangerous behavior to the watchdog agency. At Somerset Medical Center in 2003, the sudden death of Reverend Florian Gall raised alarms. He was a recovering patient who suffered a massive heart attack. An autopsy later revealed a lethal, unprescribed dose of digoxin in his system. When detectives arrived to investigate, they hit a bureaucratic wall. Hospital administrators stonewalled the police, withholding internal records and delaying evidence requests to protect their own liability. The institutional instinct for financial self-preservation actively shielded a serial killer. By prioritizing their legal exposure over patient safety, the medical system became complicit in his continued spree. Breaking that wall of silence required an insider. Amy Loughren was a night shift nurse at Somerset Medical and one of Cullen's close friends. These observation charts highlight the alarming anomalies Loughren found in Cullen's work. She noticed his erratic manual entries and an unusual electronic footprint, showing he spent hours looking at the files of patients assigned to other nurses. Loughren agreed to help detectives build their case, accepting an extreme physical risk. She was secretly suffering from severe cardiomyopathy and relying on a pacemaker, yet she volunteered to wear a police wire to interrogate a killer. The sting operation culminated at a local diner. Loughren sat across from Cullen, questioning him about the overdoses and pushing him to admit his role in the deaths. During that conversation, Cullen stated he would go down fighting. That interaction provided police with the actionable audio evidence needed to finally take him into custody. It took the extraordinary courage of a physically vulnerable individual to shatter the protective silence of a massively powerful medical institution. This official plea agreement outlines terms Cullen accepted to avoid the death penalty, promising to identify undocumented victims. The paperwork recorded his admissions to causing patient deaths across multiple facilities, listing specific victims of his guilty plea, from Reverend Florian Gall to Edward Zizek. Cullen's final legal fate was handed down, 18 consecutive life sentences in state prison, rendering him ineligible for parole until the year 2388. While the criminal justice system secured his physical confinement, prosecuting Cullen did nothing to address the information gaps and reporting failures that allowed him to move between hospitals for 16 years. In the civil aftermath, the families of the victims filed lawsuits, eventually securing confidential financial settlements with 5 different hospitals that had enabled Cullen's crimes. The legislative response followed in 2005. New Jersey passed the Healthcare Professional Responsibility and Reporting Enhancement Act, universally known as the Cullen Law. This flowchart outlines the core mechanism of the new law. It mandates that healthcare entities report any professional misconduct or impairment that relates adversely to patient safety, transmitting those flagged employee records directly to a central state database. To ensure compliance, the law offers a crucial legal shield. Hospitals are granted immunity from civil damages if they report a dangerous employee in good faith, removing the fear of public relations backlash or lawsuits from former staff. Cullen's crimes forced a reimagining of medical oversight, proving that institutional transparency is the only reliable defense against individuals who weaponize the systems they maintain.